It was just past 3 in the afternoon when the light outside Carter Williams' office turned golden, the kind of sun that softened sharp edges and made even glass buildings feel like memories. He had been typing furiously, a half-written encryption log blinking on his screen, when the softest voice he'd heard in days cut through the stillness like a needle through silk. "You have a camera in your office," Maya whispered, "but it's not yours." His fingers froze over the keyboard. For a long, long second, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Carter turned slowly, the chair creaking under his weight, and found her standing there, half hidden in the shadow of the mahogany doorway. She was small 9, maybe 10, her curly hair barely combed, fingers white-knuckled around the corner of his desk like it was the only solid thing in her world. "Maya?" His voice was careful, too careful. She looked up at him with eyes that always seemed older than her years, wide and dark and watching, always watching. She stepped forward, almost tiptoeing across the thick carpet, and leaned in close. He could feel her breath against his ear. "It's behind the painting," she said. "The one Miss Vanessa brought." Carter blinked. Of all the people to say such a thing, Maya was the least likely. Since the accident that killed her parents, his brother and sister-in-law, she had barely spoken more than 3 words at a time. She didn't cry, didn't laugh, didn't cause trouble. She watched, silently, like a ghost wrapped in skin. Carter had given her the best room, the best therapist, enrolled her in a top school, filled her life with books and blinking lights and soft lamps, and every high-end gadget a grieving child could want. But none of that had earned him her voice, not like this. "What do you mean, a camera?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. Maya glanced toward the painting, an abstract skyline with muted colors hanging above his bookcase. "I saw it blink at night," she said, "and I scanned it. The signal doesn't match your devices." Carter's stomach tensed. "Scanned it?" She nodded. "I used my tablet, ran a trace when I couldn't sleep." He sat back slowly in his chair, watching her as if seeing her for the first time. Maya had done something no adult in his security team had managed to catch, and she wasn't even supposed to be in here. "How long have you known?" he asked. "Since last week," she replied quietly. "I wasn't sure you'd believe me." He stared at the wall where the painting hung. Vanessa had brought it over 4 weeks ago, said it was a gift to celebrate his contract with Homeland Security. She had kissed him beneath it, told him she was proud. That night, they'd eaten wine-poached salmon and laughed about ridiculous startup names. And now? Now he was wondering if every smile she'd ever given him was an act. Slowly, he stood. Every movement was deliberate. He crossed the room and lifted the painting from its hooks. It came off too easily. Behind it, the drywall was smooth, freshly painted, but just beneath the top molding, a tiny black circle blinked once. No bigger than a pencil eraser. A camera lens. Carter's jaw clenched. "Maya," he said, "go wait outside for a minute." "Number." The firmness in her voice stopped him. She wasn't being disobedient. She was being brave, still holding on to something, or afraid. Either way, she wasn't leaving. He nodded slowly and motioned to the chair across from his desk. She sat, folded her hands in her lap, didn't fidget, didn't squirm. "I checked the signal history," she said. "It started the night that she hung the painting. But now there are others. Smaller ones, in the den, the guest room. I think someone's listening to you." Carter felt a chill crawl up his spine. He turned to stare at the painting now resting on the floor. His mind flipped through every interaction he'd had with Vanessa the past few weeks. Her sudden interest in cleaning his office. Her uncanny timing with coffee, the way she lingered near his desk. None of it was coincidence. Maya waited, watching him. "You've been carrying this alone?" he asked. She nodded. He let out a long, shaky breath. "I believe you." Her shoulders softened just a little. And that said everything. He crossed to the wall again, examined the painting. The camera was cleverly disguised in the metal trim, decorative, innocuous. But now it was damning. He turned back to Maya. "From now on, we do this together. No more secrets." She nodded. He rested a hand gently on her shoulder. She looked up at him and smiled. A real smile, the kind that had nothing to do with manners, the kind that meant someone had finally listened. Carter crossed to his desk and opened a secure terminal. Vanessa would be home in under 30 minutes. This time, he'd be the one watching. The tall windows of his office shimmered with dying sunlight, cast in golden slats across the floor like bars in a cage. The room had never felt smaller. He looked at Maya, now curled on the guest chair, tablet open, her fingers moving rapidly over the screen. "How many more?" he asked. "5 that don't belong," she replied. "2 in your office, 1 in the living room, 1 in the guest bedroom, and 1," she hesitated, "1 in your suite." He inhaled slowly through his nose. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was calculation, cold, precise. "They're batch transmitting," she said. "Short bursts late at night, trying to avoid network crawlers." He rubbed a hand over his jaw. That kind of protocol wasn't amateur. It was trained, deliberate, the kind of threat he'd built his company to defend against. And it was inside his home. He moved to the oak cabinet on the far wall and scanned his fingerprint. A panel slid open to reveal a matte black tower server, humming gently. "You're in," he said. Maya blinked. "You're giving me access?" "I trust you," he said, "more than I'd trust my own damn firewall." Her eyes widened. She didn't smile this time, just nodded. Got to work. Minutes later, she'd mapped the signal paths. "The hub isn't here," she said. "It's off-site, downtown Austin, private storage facility, unaffiliated." Carter stared at the blinking red pulse on her map. Whoever was behind this was good, but Maya had outmatched them. He glanced at the clock. 6:10 p.m. 2 minutes until Vanessa walked through the front door. Her timing was always perfect, just like the surveillance, just like the lie. "Uncle Carter?" Maya asked softly. He looked at her. "Can I help with the reset later?" He nodded. "You already are." Carter stood by the kitchen counter, the glow from the pendant lights casting soft halos over the granite surface as he listened to the front door click shut. Footsteps padded across the foyer, deliberate but light, as if the person wearing those heels had practiced the rhythm. Vanessa's voice floated into the space like perfume laced with intent. "There's my genius," she said brightly, arms full of takeout bags and a bottle of wine poking from her oversized handbag. She leaned in to kiss his cheek. He let her. "Smells like server heat in here," she murmured, her eyes scanning the room. "You working hard or hardly working?" Carter smiled thinly. "Just running diagnostics, a few glitches in the system." "Anything serious?" she asked, her tone still casual but her eyes a touch too sharp. "Not really," he said, "but I'll probably do a full reset later." "Need help?" "No," he replied, locking eyes with her. "You've helped enough." She laughed, but the sound didn't reach her eyes. He watched her place the food on the counter, watched the way she subtly glanced toward his office door. He could almost hear the gears turning behind her curated smile. Every move was too practiced, every sentence too polished. She had built her persona the way a thief builds alibis, layered, rehearsed, and just slightly too perfect. Carter excused himself, saying he needed to finish something in the office. As soon as the door closed behind him, he exhaled sharply, as if he had been holding in breath for weeks. Maya sat cross-legged in the corner, a blanket draped over her shoulders, a second monitor lighting up her face with the ghostly blue glow. She looked up. "She scanned your desk when you stepped out," Maya said. "Used her phone, pointed it right where the decoy drive is." Carter gave a short nod and crossed to his laptop. The decoy was a prototype file labeled NMAI Neural Mesh/Final. Draft, completely fabricated, filled with misleading algorithms and tracer code designed to detect exactly where it would land. "Did she send it?" "Yes," Maya replied. "Signal bounced through 2 routers, then hit a server in the Caymans, masked behind a shell firm." Carter rubbed his jaw, tension tightening every muscle. She didn't just want to see what he was working on, she wanted to steal it, package it, sell it, or worse, claim it as her own. A knock on the office door made both of them jump. Carter opened it to find Josephine, the housekeeper, standing there with a tray of cocoa and oatmeal cookies. Her eyes narrowed as she stepped inside and looked at his face. "Something's wrong," she said, not as a question but a fact. "Yes," Carter replied quietly. "Vanessa planted surveillance. Maya found it." Josephine blinked once, then straightened. "I knew something was off about her. She's too smooth, too curious." "She's working with Miles," Carter added. "He's been in the house when I wasn't here. Twice." Josephine's eyes flared. "They're both snakes," she muttered. "Do you want me to do something?" "Just stay normal," Carter said. "Pretend like we don't know anything." Josephine gave a grim nod. "I've been playing polite since before that woman learned how to spell manipulation. I'll manage." She turned and left without another word. Carter looked at Maya. "Anything new?" "Yes," she said. "I traced another ping, a signal hub. All the devices talk to it. It's downtown, not part of any of your companies." She turned her screen. A map blinked red near 3rd Street. Carter frowned. Whoever set that up wanted distance, but not too much. Proximity gave them better signal. He leaned over her shoulder, taking in the signal pattern. "You ran this on your own?" She nodded. "While you were pretending to eat dinner. And you didn't want to tell me right away?" "I didn't know if you'd listen," she said honestly. "Grown-ups don't always listen." He crouched next to her. "I do now." She smiled, just a twitch of her lips, then looked back at the screen. "They're good," she said, "but not perfect. They reused part of a device signature from your old firewall model. That's how I caught it." Carter stared at her, at the way her mind worked, the calm, methodical way she unraveled secrets adults tried to hide. "We'll need backup," he said. "Someone who knows how to get in quietly." He stood, pulled out a small phone from a hidden drawer, dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Reed," he said when the line clicked. "I need you." "Tonight?" Reed's voice was sharp. Ex-military. No nonsense. "Yes, quiet. Surveillance. No uniforms." "Understood." He hung up. Maya looked at him. "Who's Reed?" "An old friend," Carter said. "Helped me clean up some ugly corporate messes. He knows how to disappear people without making headlines." Her eyebrows rose. "We're disappearing her?" "Not her," Carter said grimly. "The truth. And then we rebuild with what's left." At 11:30 p.m., a black SUV pulled quietly into the back of the estate. Reed stepped out, tall and broad-shouldered, gray at the temples, wearing a jacket that looked too casual to hide the hardware it concealed. "You look like hell," Reed said by way of greeting. "Thanks," Carter replied. "Come in." Inside, Reed set up a mobile command center in the guest house. Screens flickered to life. Wires spread like veins across the floor. "This is everything?" Reed asked. "So far," Carter said. "Maya's traced the network to a shell hub downtown. The painting was just the start." Reed looked at the girl sitting calmly with a tablet in her lap. "That the genius?" "That's Maya," Carter said. "And yes." Reed nodded respectfully. "You got sharp eyes, kid." "I've got eyes that don't lie," Maya replied. "Big difference." Carter chuckled. "She takes after her father." "Good," Reed said, "because things are about to get complicated." At 2 a.m., the house was mostly dark. Vanessa had gone to bed. Carter sat by the fireplace, files spread before him. Maya was curled in an armchair, half asleep but still clinging to her tablet. Suddenly she stirred. "Got something," she mumbled. "Another signal? From where?" "From here," she whispered. "This house. Upstairs." Carter sat up straight. "What room?" "Guest bedroom. It's been quiet for hours, but now it's pinging again. Someone's checking in." Carter crossed the room to Reed, who had just stepped in from outside. "We've got a live one, upstairs. I want to see who they're talking to." "Already recording," Reed said. "Every bite." Minutes later, Josephine brought in tea. "She went into the guest room 10 minutes ago," the housekeeper said. "I thought she was just getting extra sheets, but she had her phone out, whispering." "Did you hear what she said?" Carter asked. Josephine frowned. "She said he suspects, but he hasn't got proof yet. We'll have to move sooner." Carter stood. "Then let's give them something to move on." Reed grinned. "You want to bait the trap?" "No," Carter said. "I want to snap it shut." The next morning began with stillness. Not peace, not quiet, stillness, the kind that settles just before the glass breaks. Carter stood in his office staring at the mock prototype file open on his screen, the same one Vanessa had transferred the night before. Every click, every byte she moved had been tracked, and Maya's script was already mapping the digital trail like a bloodhound following footprints in ash. Reed entered the room, eyes alert, a tablet in hand. "We traced the signal," he said without preamble. "It's not just some offshore shell. It's a firm here in Austin, Beaksler Capital. Looks clean on the surface, but when we pulled deeper, turns out they've got at least 3 shadow LLCs linked to foreign IP tunneling." Carter didn't look up from his screen. "That's the drop point?" "Not just that," Reed said. "They're laundering stolen tech through portfolio acquisitions. Vanessa didn't just spy on you. She was hired to gut you and replace your architecture under someone else's name." Carter closed the laptop with a snap. "Do we have names?" "Not yet," Reed said. "They're using middlemen, layers. Then we'll burn through them." A soft knock came at the door. Maya peeked in, holding a drawing pad, her expression unreadable. "I've finished mapping the device signals," she said. "There's a central hub and 2 local IPs connected at odd hours." She walked in, placed the pad on his desk. "One matches Miles, the other—" She hesitated. "It's not hers." Carter narrowed his eyes. "Then whose?" "Someone above her," Maya said. "The logs tag the user as Monarch." Carter felt the name settle like a stone in his chest. Monarch, he repeated. That's the top. She's not acting alone, Maya whispered. She never was. That night, they executed Phase 2. Carter instructed Reed to leak a false set of specifications for a revolutionary encryption framework under development. The files were seeded with trace beacons and network signature pings. Maya called it Butterfly Sting. Within 3 hours of uploading, the file had been accessed by 3 locations, including one that pointed directly to a corner office in Beaksler Capital's top floor. They bit, Reed said, and hard. Who owns the account? Carter asked. We don't know yet. It's under triple-mast registration. Maya spoke from the corner, eyes fixed on her screen. That won't matter. I tagged the beacon with a reverse handshake. If they try to decrypt it, the signal will bounce. To what? Carter asked. To their true identity, she said softly. Just give it a few more hours. The next morning, Carter received a letter. Not an email, not a text. A real envelope, thick and cream-colored, with no return address. Inside was a single note on high-grade paper, handwritten in ink. We know what you're doing. Walk away and we erase everything. Stay, and your legacy burns with you. It was signed only with the image of a monarch butterfly. Carter stared at it, fingers tightening around the edges until the paper bent. He stood, walked to the window, and looked out across the Austin skyline. He had built Heon from a spare bedroom and a borrowed laptop. Every line of code, every firewall, every algorithm came from sleepless nights and stubborn mornings. He had bled into this company, and someone wanted to race it like it was chalk on pavement. Not just him, his work, his brother's dream, Maya's future. That afternoon, he walked into the guest house turned command center, where Reed and Josephine stood reviewing satellite heat maps. They just made it personal, Carter said. We move on Beaksler. Reed didn't ask for clarification. He just nodded. We've got enough now to hit them where it hurts. But if we're going in, we need leverage. We have it, Maya said. I found internal memos between Vanessa's devices and a remote sync server in Midtown Manhattan. They were replicating our framework, but poorly, like someone was trying to imitate your system without the core code. Which they never got, Carter said, because we never stored it on the cloud. Exactly, Maya said, but they don't know that. They think they're close. Then we let them think that, Carter said. And when they try to launch it as their own, we trigger the breach log. They'll self-incriminate, Reed said. Brilliant. And Maya, Carter added, turning to the girl who now looked more like a field agent than a child, I want you to write the signature tag. She blinked. Me? Yes, your name, in the root code, so when they fail, the whole world knows who stopped them. Maya looked down, cheeks flushing. Okay. That night, Carter stood on the back patio alone, watching the wind move through the trees. He held the butterfly letter in one hand, turning it over and over, the ink beginning to smear from the pressure of his grip. He heard the screen door slide open. Maya stepped out, barefoot, blanket around her shoulders. Can't sleep? She asked. No. Because of them? He nodded. Because of everything. She walked beside him, leaned her head against his arm. You're not alone, she said. I know, he whispered, but I should have seen it sooner. I let her in. I let him in. And you're the one who had to protect me. That's what families do, she said. Sometimes grown-ups get tricked. Doesn't make you bad, makes you human. He looked down at her, the strange, miraculous girl who had come into his life through grief, and had somehow taught him what clarity felt like. "Tomorrow we end it," he said. "The lies, the spying, the games." She nodded. "Good. And after?" he asked. "What do we do?" Maya tilted her head. "We build something better. From truth." He smiled. "That's a good plan." "I know," she said, teasing. "I'm usually right." He laughed. Not the bitter kind, but the real kind. The kind that stretched old muscles and healed scar tissue. "You are," he said. "You always were." They stood there a little longer, watching the sky bruise toward midnight, and for once, Carter didn't feel watched. He felt seen. Carter stood in the executive boardroom of Hion, the dawn bleeding slowly across the Atlanta skyline behind him. The windows were tinted to reduce glare, but nothing could mute the cold certainty crawling up his spine. Beside him, Maya sat cross-legged in the oversized leather chair, her laptop glowing pale blue in the dim light. Her interface shadow net was alive on the screen, threads of code and visualized pings spinning like a spider web across continents. Reed was already there, standing by the east wall, arms folded, watching the nodes blink red one by one. "They're coming," Maya whispered without looking up. 2 entry attempts from Frankfurt, 1 from Seoul, and... She paused, her fingers clicking faster. 2 U.S. pings, New York, and here, inside the city. Carter nodded once. "They're deploying everything." "They're trying to inject dummy credentials," Reed muttered. "Push fake admin access to overwrite your data trail." "Not overwrite," Maya corrected. "Erase. They're trying to write you out of your own legacy." Carter's jaw flexed, the muscles in his neck pulled tight as a bridge cable's. "Let them try." At exactly 9:03 a.m., the screen went white for 2 full seconds, then exploded into color. "Trace locked," Maya said. "We've got 1 internal IP, Bexler Capital, senior developer node, and..." She tapped again. "Vanessa's device ID just activated. She's still connected." Reed stepped forward. "She's not just a former fiancé. She's still an active asset." "Let her see it," Carter said quietly. "She deserves front row seats." In less than 5 minutes, Bexler Capital's entire internal server farm dropped offline. A fake internal update had triggered Maya's tracer bomb, spreading tagged metadata through every stored file. "News channels just got the leak," Reed reported, scrolling on a separate screen. "Anonymous whistleblower upload. Documents, emails, signal logs, all of it traced back to shell companies linked to Bexler." "No names yet?" "Not yet," Reed replied, "but they'll start digging." "Time to end it," Carter said. He left the boardroom without another word, Maya trailing him like a quiet shadow. A black car waited at the curb, engine humming. The drive downtown was silent but charged, like a current just beneath the skin. When Carter stepped out in front of Bexler's glittering glass tower, there were no guards waiting, no reporters swarming. Just the receptionist who looked up, startled, and then looked away again, as if some instinct told her not to ask questions. The elevator ride was slow, almost too slow. Floor 47. The numbers blinked upward. When the doors opened, the office was colder than he remembered. Sleek, impersonal, gray and glass and money. He walked through like he owned the place, which in some way he did. They had stolen his life, but not his power. At the end of the hallway, a man with silver hair and a face like polished marble stood waiting. The same man from the park. The one who called himself Monarch without ever saying the name. "You came alone," the man said. "Good." Carter didn't respond. He stepped into the corner office, placed a slim silver USB drive on the conference table. "Everything you touched is compromised," he said flatly. "The files, the structure, the ghost servers you thought were undetectable. You don't own my company. You own a ticking clock." The man raised an eyebrow. "You've made your point." "I'm not finished," Carter said. "Within 48 hours, you will step down from every shellboard position, dissolve every illicit node, and submit full disclosure to the SEC and the Justice Department." "And if I don't?" the man asked. "You'll drag us through court?" "No," Carter replied. "I'll give the full leak to every major tech outlet in the world, and then I'll walk into that courtroom with Maya beside me and tell them everything. And you'll still lose, because you picked the wrong man to erase." The man studied him with a kind of cold admiration. "You're not the same Carter William we studied." "No," Carter said. "I'm better, because now I see." "You shine your light too far," the man said softly. "Be careful it doesn't burn the people closest to you." "She's why I shine it," Carter replied and left. Outside, the wind was colder, the sky grayer, but his pulse was steady. He didn't need to run. He had already won. That evening, he stood in the sunroom at home, watching Maya rearrange the photos on the wall. She had just hung one of her parents laughing, bright, taken by the lake 2 years before they were gone. "They would have been proud of you," Carter said. "You didn't let fear win." Maya looked up. "Is it really over?" "Almost," he said. "One more domino." "Her?" Maya asked quietly. Carter nodded. "Her." The next morning, Vanessa turned herself in, alone. No lawyer, no heels, just a simple navy coat and eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in weeks. She walked into the federal building with her head high. In court, she named names. She submitted every email, every file, every message. She didn't ask for a deal. She didn't cry. She just spoke. And when the judge asked why she came forward, she only said, "Because a little girl saw me." Carter didn't attend the trial. He didn't need to. The world would see what it needed to. Justice, when it finally came, wasn't loud. It was quiet, like Maya's voice had been that first day, like truth often is. Spring arrived slowly. The air lost its bite. Hion rebuilt, stronger. Firewalls rewritten. Leadership reevaluated. And Carter began something new. With Maya's help, he founded the Maya Initiative, a scholarship fund for kids like her. Smart, overlooked, too quiet for the world to notice until it's almost too late. One morning, he took her to the botanical gardens. The sun was soft, the air full of magnolia. She ran ahead, a sketchbook tucked under her arm, sneakers brushing petals as she darted between flower beds. "Uncle Carter!" she shouted from under a butterfly arch. "Look!" He caught up, crouched beside her. Monarchs fluttered around them, gold and black wings catching the light like fire. One landed on her wrist. She held it still, her breath caught. "They remember where to go," she whispered, "even after storms." "Even when they get lost?" he asked. She nodded. "Especially then," he smiled. "So do you." And for the first time since this began, Carter William felt peace. Not the absence of war, but the presence of something deeper, a home rebuilt, a future earned, and a girl who had whispered the truth into the silence until the silence listened.